Good day, everyone. My name is Rezza Moieni. I'm the project director of the Cultural Infusion in Melbourne, Australia. And on behalf of myself and Peter Musafiriadis, the CEO of Cultural Infusion, I'm going to present our paper titled The Analysis of the Cultural Diversity Concept in Different Countries Using Fractal Analysis. Share my screen. Here we go. So the discussion about the importance of cultural diversity is abundant in professional literature and mainstream media. Despite intense interest, there is a significant knowledge gap in what is meant by diversity and how it can be measured. Cultural diversity has been analytically neglected, and it is in need of robust understanding. In our article, we propose a set of quantifiable dimensions of diversity that can be benchmarked, compared over time, evaluated against adjustable variables, and used as a basis of recommendations about improved business performance. While our previous work in this area considered elements of the cultural diversity to be ethnicity, language, and belief, in this paper, we propose a new method by considering country of birth as one of the main pillars of the cultural diversity as well. Also would like to say that this this method has been developed and implemented in a digital tool called Diversity Atlas, which is available at www.diversityatlas.com.au. So this has been exemplified in the business literature, where it is presupposed that certain social processes in which culture is a known factor make it possible to tighten a hypothesis around the relevance of the culture. Then the dimension to measure and their effects on productivity and the business performance is blurry. So our work takes steps to address this question. So we also explore problems associated with the measuring of cultural diversity by proposing a framework for understanding cultures through a process of disaggregation of the elements of the culture and measuring each aspect of that. So the two main questions when it comes to measuring cultural diversity, the main two problems are: what is the definition of the culture, and what are the elements of the culture? So what to measure? So there are about 150 different definitions of the culture, and there's no universally accepted definition of the culture mentioned by many academics. And I mean, as I mentioned, the second one is there's no agreed concept of what types of differences should be counted or measured. So although a definition of the diversity can be formulated that includes a range of all categories such as gender, disability or ability, education, sexual orientation, physical or cognitive impairment, for the purpose of our study, which is more like salient to the cultural diversity, those were classified as the markers of demographic rather than the cultural diversity. So those factors, while contributing to overall diversity, are laying outside of the scope of our research. Our study is following a previous study that proposed a mathematical formula for calculating a weighted index to indicate the cultural diversity of a group of people. So in that study, we used analysis of the culture, which classified the primary input of the cultural composition to be ethnicity, worldview, or if I say belief or religious beliefs, and the languages. So ethnicity, language, and worldviews as the main pillars of the cultural diversity. And while ethnicity has been widely recognized as an important marker of the culture, this ethnicity itself can be problematic concept to define and measure. So in that study, we just focus country of birth as an indicator, as a proxy for ethnicity. In that study, 200 people from a diverse range of linguistically and culturally backgrounds participated in a survey questionnaire. And I would say that, however, this number couldn't be considered sufficiently sizable to represent the views of the entire communities, but it was thought statistically sufficient to identify the attitudinal patterns. So participants were asked to rank in percentage the relative importance of each of the three categories which we mentioned: worldview, ethnicity, and language. And the survey showed that on average, the respondents believe that in composition of the culture, ethnicity is 52% important, language 22%, and the beliefs or worldviews are 26% important. So these weightings are discussed further in our paper when we introduced the updated index based on the entropy, the normalized entropy of the value of these elements. And this was the formula that we proposed in the previous paper. So the diversity was introduced based on the entropy of each group. It also includes the L1 norm and the number of people existing in that community. And the percentages are 52% for ethnicity, 22% for language, and 26% for the diversity of worldview. So in our new work, as a refinement to the model that used in the previous study, so ethnicity itself has been added as like a discrete category here. And while ethnicity is often associated with the country of birth, the two cannot be conflated with problems that can be avoided by keeping them separate. So we had the chance to work on a large database of about 8,500 different ethnic groups all around the world, which gives us the opportunity to be able to study this area better. And given the range of the culturally and socially inscribed attitudes towards the primary cultural categories, we believe the relative importance accorded to the primary categories that make up culture will vary in different countries. And this is our experience. So in our current project, in our current study, a total of 582 people participated in a similar survey. They were asked questions about the relative importance of the main categories of the culture, worldview, language, ethnicity, and country of birth. And 222 people were from Australia in this study, 116 people were from France, and 244 people participated from Pakistan. So there are lots of interesting results here. One out of many, the survey results show that the respondents from France believe that the religious beliefs contribute 15% of what defines the cultural diversity, while similar answer from the people from Pakistan, they thought that 60% of importance of cultural diversity comes from like religious or worldview beliefs. So this indicates that, for example, in Pakistan, it's thought that the variety of religious within a community is of more importance, like shaping the cultural diversity rather than just like spoken languages or ethnic backgrounds or just country of birth. Also, the survey participants were asked questions about age, education, gender, activeness in practicing religion, the birthplace, and also the questions such as if their parents or them and their parents were born in the same or different countries. And this been the data has been analyzed for different questions, which is available in the main study. So this is one of the 18 tables in the paper. So this shows the um, age versus cultural diversity for the Australia. A similar table exists for the people from France and also from the Pakistan. So this one shows the relative value individuals in Australia clustered by age. So placed in the 4 categories, it indicates that with the exception of the perceptions of the ethnicity by those under 20 and over 70, individuals tend to rate all 4 elements relatively similar, equally, and this can be seen in the average of those age 40 and below as well, and those age above 40. So the biggest contrast in these averages is can be seen through the categories of ethnicity and worldviews, where those people age 40 and below rank ethnicity roughly 3% higher than those above 40 years old, and about the worldview, 4% lower than the older age groups. Or this one is the education versus cultural diversity in Australia. So it describes how the different level of educational attainment influences the perception of the relative importance of the 4 categories in those 3 countries. So this table is for Australia. So a total of 439 individuals surveyed between 176 from Australia, 87 from France, and 176 from Pakistani background, and all education. It's interesting that all education groups within the Australian community cohort ranked all 4 categories in a relatively similar numbers between 21% and 33%. And Australian ranked the language as an average, like in a greater way, rather than the people from Pakistan and France. Gender versus cultural diversity, and also the number of spoken languages versus cultural diversity for each of those countries. Each of them have like a separate table. So in total, the respondents from France and Australia rated the relative importance of the 4 categories in the same order, with worldview ranked like with the least number, 23% for France and 11% in Australia relatively, and ethnicity as the highest one. So Australia with 31% and France with 59%. So in contrast, the respondents in Pakistan considered religion or worldview to be the most important part of the culture, ranking it around 25% higher than the people from France. And also the Pakistani people considered ethnicity as a second important part of the culture. So as an average, a person from Pakistan first introduce themselves by the beliefs, and after that as the ethnicity, if I want to summarize. So which is like, can be considered like a very important observation. So all the 3 countries rank country of birth and language in the same order of importance. So despite this, Australia and France, the individuals rank these 2 elements higher than the worldview, while in Pakistan, the individuals ranked these 2 elements lower than ethnicity as well. And also, while Australia and France ranked the categories in the same order, it was interesting to say that the Australian scores are closer to Pakistan, maybe primarily because the high importance of the French respondents placed on ethnicity. So based on this approach, we could update the formula as cultural diversity as sigma of I equal 1 to n is the number of people. AIDI, DI is the formula of the diversity, which was introduced before, and A is the index, the index of the diversity, which you can see in the table above. So as a conclusion, the diversity index provides a mean to calculate the benchmarks. So over the time or with different like parties or communities, This index can be used to compare the cultural diversity between different communities. Our index may also help communities for visualizing the effects of changes in the profile of their team members, employees, and etc. over the time. And we also examine that how people from different countries and cultural backgrounds see the cultural diversity and elements of the cultural diversity disaggregated in those 4 elements. So our element, this index is bounded between 0 and 1. So 0 means the least diversity, means actually no diversity, and 1 means the highest mutuality between 2 groups. The index has been implemented in our tools, which is available at www.diversityatlas.com. I also would like to acknowledge the support of Culture and Fusion, a company, for supporting this program. Also, on behalf of myself and Peter, I would like to thank John Garzoli for his editorial support and advice. I also would like to thank Christabel, Emma, Martin, Catherine, and Nivi from Culture and Fusion, who provided insight and expertise with us that greatly supported this research. Also, they may not agree with all of the conclusions in this paper. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Bye.